Got it.
There we go. Now live. Hey, welcome to Costa Rica. Where are you? At the beach?
I'm out at the pool here in Delaware. Happy Independence Day, everybody, and welcome to New Thought Tuesdays. Today, on New Thought Tuesdays, our spiritual creatives, we're here for you, and we're going to dive deep into the science of mind and unraveling appearances with our panel today, which is me, as it is always, with Rich, as it is always. So we're here to help you discover the power of perception and how our thoughts shape the world around us. Our thoughts actually contribute the majesty and the huge amount to how our life is unfolding. And so that's what we're going to talk about today. And, you know, whether you're a seasoned New Thought Tuesdays person or you're new to New Thought and the science of mind, these new concepts we're going to talk about today, you will be able to go deeper and experience new and rich. So that's where speaking of rich, here's Rich in Costa Rica.
I'm in Costa Rica, and I had a spider crawling up my arm, and my sister said, stay away from the spiders and the snakes because they're poisonous and the spiders will bite you. So I had one crawling up my arm. I had to scoot it away. Sorry about that.
That's perfect today because this idea of appearances. I just did a talk on appearance. I did a talk on what is it was titled Monsters Inc. on Sunday, and it really was talking about speaking truth to circumstance. And so what we're talking about today is that as Ernest Holmes and all New Thought practitioners espoused to, including Einstein, who was not necessarily a New Thought practitioner, but he was certainly a magnificent scientist. This reality, this knock on wood reality, is not quite as real as we sense it is. And so where we're focused on today are those thoughts that we have that bring circumstances into our life. Because you're always using these principles, always. It's not that we're learning to use them. We're always using them. It's just we're learning how to use them mindfully. So the idea of you bring to you what you're experiencing is really what we're talking about today.
Yeah. And it's only real if you believe it's real, because it's all measured according to your belief. And so change your beliefs, change your thoughts, change your life. And that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're going to use the movie Monsters Inc. Is it legal to say that? I mean, do we have to pay?
I don't know. I don't think we can show a clip from it, but if you guys have not watched it, please do. And if you have watched it, go ahead and watch it again, because it's a delight. It really talks about our perspectives. It talks about, see, these monsters are going around and they live in Monstropolis. And these our two lead monsters in this are Sully and Mike. And they're just, Sully is just a magnificent, huge monster, and he can scare better than anybody else. But he's really got a heart of gold, and Sully is his sidekick.
They work in a scare factory.
They work in a scare factory. Their job is to go into kids' bedrooms at night and scare them and collect the energy from their terror and their screams and feed it into Monstropolis, and that's how they get their electricity. So that's the premise of the movie. But in the process of the movie, it really turns your perspective upside down, because you begin to really love these monsters, and you can see them being monstrous, but you can see them as other things as well. And the key issue here is that they scare this one little tyke, this little girl they end up calling Boo, and they scare her, and she ends up clinging onto the back of one of them and getting out of her room into Monstropolis, which is absolutely verboten. It is a horrible thing, because the monsters are afraid that if the kids touch you, you'll die. Well, the first thing is the kid touches the monster and the monster doesn't die. So the monster's perspectives were kind of all off base. And the kid looks at this Sully, and what does it? Do you remember the first thing the kid did when it saw Sully?
It laughed.
It
It
laughed.
wasn't scared. The kid wasn't scared at all. The kid's
Kid wasn't
perception,
scared.
Sally was funny and joyful, and she loved it.
It was this sense of delight. And she goes, I love this part of it. There's 4 words that this kid speaks other than little baby gibberish. And she looks at this huge monster and she goes, kitty. Instead of getting all upset and all having the perspective of danger and fear and scare, that's what she was talking about. That's what she experienced, this sense of joy, that sense of light, and her perspective. That's what she was expressing, a perspective that was bringing her freedom and love and light. And
she didn't even know fear. She felt no fear. She went into the Monsters Inc. factory, and there were all kinds of creepy monsters, and she was just having a great time in life. She was just really enjoying herself, laughing. And so, that's the same thing with us, Dean, is that we perceive things to be fearful of, therefore we create things to be fearful of. And she didn't. As a matter of fact, she brought a lot of joy and laughter into the place. Yeah,
she did bring a lot of joy and laughter into the place. See, and let's get a little bit more into the new thought aspect of perspective. And I want to read to you all this Ernest Holmes quote from Science of Mind. So I just want to get this right. So I'm going to just read it. If you are in a safe place to do this, close your eyes and listen to this. Dr. Holmes wrote, things appear because we think them into appearances. Everything which we see is some mental image objectified. If we wish to change any condition in our outer world, we must change the cause which is back of them. So he's just talking about everything we are experiencing. So here I'm experiencing, here's the pool outside in Delaware, and Rich is at the pool outside in Costa Rica. These things that we're experiencing on this July 4th, well, here, the perspective of July 4th is different in the United States of America than it is in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
Obviously, they're not celebrating the United States Independence Day in Costa Rica, but life is continuing on. Oh, I see the birds in the distance there.
They don't celebrate the 4th of July. What I understand now from being here with my sister, they just celebrate life. They're just here among nature and the wild animals and the birds, and it's so relaxing here. They just celebrate life. You don't have to celebrate the 4th of July. They celebrate life in general. And I find so much joy just being here and being around these people are just unbelievable. Unbelievable. So
that idea from the 52 principles of the infinite filmmaker, Rich, when you think about appearances, what's the principle that you think about first? What first comes to your mind from your book, The 52 Laws and Principles of the Infinite Filmmaker?
52 Laws and Principles of the Infinite Filmmaker. I don't recall the principle. Give me my book. You can go get it at theinfinitefilmmaker.com.
Oh, you have visitors behind you, Rich.
Yeah, these guys are working on fixing up the building. Actually, my sister hired me to come down and shoot a video of the house because they're going to sell it. So they have the builders finishing up the last, lights and stuff like that. Actually, look at this place. It's like unbelievable.
Wow.
So they're here. They're going to put up these lights today.
So bring your camera back again so that it's looking at the window. You see, you've got Rich's, you've got the wonderful seascape in Rich's background. And then as you bring the camera toward the window, you were seeing a reflection of that beautiful landscape, that beautiful seascape. And that's what our perceptions are. We are reflections of this infinite creativity that we call spirit, that we call God. We are reflections, and our perspective and our thoughts bring more into our situation than I believe most people realize. So despite appearances, nothing is greater than the infinite presence.
Yeah.
And so when we talk about attempting to fight what's going on or push it away to outside circumstances, we only give those circumstances more power when we're trying to push them away. And one of the quotes in the film is, one of the quotes in the film is that without scream, we have no power. So the monsters think all of their power is coming from the screams of these kids.
Yeah.
Just as kind of an end of the story, they discover once they start capturing the laughter of the children, that the laughter of the children has even more power. And that I love that story point that fear has the power you give it, laughter has the power you give it.
Yeah. Yeah. Fear versus faith. Faith has more power to it than fear, you know. The fear will just disappear as soon as you shine the light of faith on it. Whatever you believe in, you can create. And, you know,
Right.
you're talking about reflection. And I think that the life that we're living is just a reflection back at us of what we're thinking about and talking about and acting upon, you know. It's a reciprocal universe. It gives you back what you get. And so, you know, I was looking at my sister here in Costa Rica. She built 12 houses here and sold them. And I'm looking at her life. This is what she believes. She believes she could come to Costa Rica and make millions of dollars on building houses. And she did it. And so what is your belief as a filmmaker, as a creative in the entertainment business? What is your belief? And if you don't have a belief that you can do it, you have to start studying these principles and do thought teachings so that you can start to believe in something greater than you that's working in and as and through you so that you can start creating the thing that you want to create, the life you desire to be living. And so how did I get there? Oh, from the reflection.
It's from the reflection. And so as we're looking at people and organizations and circumstances in our life, it's true for those that we are welcoming and for those that we are not welcoming, it really is all our perspective. So for both the welcome and the not welcome, the idea is to really step away from your judgment, step away from your attachment, and allow yourself to be present in the moment without attachment or judgment. Now, having said that, I think a lot of times what we focus on is, okay, let's make sure the negative things get out of my life. Okay, and that's a perfectly wonderful place to start. Like a lot of folks in Science Mind will start with, okay, I want to have more money. I want to have more things. Perfectly valid place to be. That's all fine and good. It's wonderful. It's not the be all and end all. It is part of your path to your own enlightenment. But when we look today at those people and those organizations, those circumstances that we're not welcoming into our life, we have to look through them and just see smoke and mirrors. The smoke and mirrors of our own judgment, of people's own perspectives. And we need to look, we need to look through these appearances. Nothing is as real or solid as it seems. So like with the monsters in Monsters, Inc., they can make a lot of noise, huffing and puffing, and even blowing a house down. But a house built on a solid foundation of spirit cannot be blown down by bullies. Or the form might go, but the real substance of spirit or of eternal life cannot be blown down. So we don't want to stand to, we do not have to stand in opposition to the people, in opposition to the circumstances, and opposition to the organizations. We just need to know the truth about what that true purpose is, that true truth, that infinite wisdom is, that the God consciousness is unfolding perfectly.
Yeah. Sorry, I had to move to another room.
So we've got another camera angle from Rich. Another perspective.
Another perspective. You know, one of the things that I was noticing that in the movie was that when Boo they were trying to get her back to her room through the door. And Sully said, you know, something about Boo. Oh, this is Boo. And Mike said, wait a second, what's Boo? And he says, this is Boo. He goes, don't name it. The minute you name it, then all of a sudden it has the power over us.
Right.
And so don't name it. And that's one of the principles that we teach, is that what you talk about, you bring about. What you think about, you bring about. And so don't name it. The minute you name it, it becomes your reality. And so some might call it denial. Well, you deny that which is going around you as illusion, or you can create a new reality. You can create a new movie of your life, you know, as I use in my Infinite Filmmaker teachings. And so that was pretty cool. Don't name it. The minute you name it, Boo.
Boo.
It has the power.
It has the power. We're going to talk about how to see appearances, see through appearances in our kind of abbreviated inner circle. It's 4th of July here in the States, and we're going to go out and do a little bit of 4th of July celebrating, the family and I. And hey, isn't it great? The appearance of the pool is now much bluer than it used to be. We got home from vacation and it was green, 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 green. And now the perspective of the pool, the action of the pool has changed. So we'll talk about the hows. But before we go into the hows, one of the other things I wanted to bring up before we go into the inner circle, from my end of things, Rich, is the idea that we maintain a pure sense of truth, a pure sense of truth. You brought up the sense of denial, and denial is, especially in prayer, there's a really solid, in part of our 5-step prayer, there's a solid use for the idea of denial. But there's something we want to avoid, which is called spiritual bypass. And essentially what that means is, I believe this truth, I believe this appearance, this green pool. Let's say when this pool was green, I believe in this green. I see this green pool. It's a green pool. It's a green pool. It's much more blue now than it was then. But in my being, I'm believing it to be a certain way. But I say, it is not green. It is not green. It is not green. I know that it is not green. It is not green. All the while, believing to the depth of my core of my experience that it is green. That's a spiritual bypass, using some of our spiritual practice to kind of bypass what we're truly believing. And I want to encourage all of our spiritual creatives to go slowly with the idea of where you are in truth and where your belief is, and just to be true to what it is you believe and where your faith is. Be true to where your faith is and walk from that place. I remember many years ago, Dr. Beckwith said to us in the congregation, okay, as you sit there, what do you know about God that you don't need anybody else to tell you? What truth do you believe about God that you don't need anyone else to tell you? And I sat there and I was very clear at that time, and this is 30 years ago now, that God is. No one had to tell me that. Spirit, God is. I believe that. And that is the place that my spiritual practice has grown over the last decades, is to know the truth that is within you and then authentically building upon it.
Yeah. Yeah. God is, I am.
Yeah.
There's one power, one presence. That's the life of the infinite working in and as and through us. What's that thing you said last week, just quickly before we go, because these guys are waiting for me. But never mind. We'll talk about it at the inner circle. Join us in the inner circle.
Join us in the inner circle. We're going to go into the inner circle, and we will let you go. We're going to have a bit of a conversation and let Rich go off and explore the wilds of Costa Rica from his multi-million-dollar mansion. Looking beautiful.
It's going to be sold in a week.
But that's where we are today. Thank you for coming. If you want to join us again, you're welcome to go to New Thought Tuesdays and .com and go in and sign up. Yes, I want to be reminded, and we'll send you an email with the link so that you can be part of this adventure. We're here every Tuesday for you. Pacific time, we're at 10 a.m. Eastern time, we're at 1 p.m. London time, we're at 6 p.m. on Tuesdays. And in
Right.
Costa Rica, we're at 11 a.m.
Yeah. There we go.
All right.
We'll see you next Tuesday.
Okay, stop the recordings and we'll go. Oh, and I'm a co-host. Stop the recordings. We'll move forward.